Welcome to From Click to Client, where we transform a confusing message into a clear, compelling story that sells. I'm your host, Kris Jones, StoryBrand marketing expert. I'm here to help you attract more dream clients with the power of story.
I am super pumped to bring you Kris Jones today. For all of my entrepreneurs and business owners who are looking to tell a fantastic story when it comes to what their brand is, who they are, what they have to offer, Kris has such a unique perspective on this, and this is going to be a fantastic episode. So a little bit about Kris. She is the founder of the Signature Story Selling System, and this helps consultants, coaches, and service providers replace all their marketing with a single story so they can attract more clients, amplify revenue, and enjoy more time freedom. Yes, please. She is the founder of Red Door Stories back in 2003, and she's worked with high-profile companies such as Nike and Adidas, but her favorite people to work with are self-employed service providers because they struggle the most with copywriting and can experience the greatest benefits once they get their story right. And I know we are all feeling that right now. So Kris, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have this conversation.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here.
So good. So tell me a little bit about what sparked the creation of your signature storytelling system and how it's changed the way businesses approach this type of marketing.
Yes. Well, it came about, I've been in the industry quite a long time, and I started out with visual branding and what I would call visual storytelling, essentially. And this was back in the day when all you needed was a pretty website to really thrive online as a business. And what happened over the years is the landscape online changed and things got more competitive and crowded. And what had been working before for my clients wasn't working as well. Like these beautiful websites that I was designing weren't all that effective anymore. And the reason was because I was really requiring my clients to write their own copy. And they were really struggling with that process. And I was like, well, I got the design down. You just come up with the copy. And what would happen is, like on the project start date, I would get a call. I'll never forget one client named Elise. She called me on her project kickoff date, which is when her copy was due, so I could start the design process. And she was like, I don't know what is going on. Like I have a background in publishing. I'm a really good writer. I cannot write this damn copy. Like it's so hard. I feel paralyzed, and the harder I try, the worse it gets. And it's so frustrating. And so we brainstormed some ideas, and we tried a lot of different things. Like I gave her some templates, and I felt like I wasn't really qualified to help her solve this problem, but I brainstormed some ideas, including hiring a couple different copywriters, which she did. And ultimately, like hiring out her copy, it didn't feel like her voice. It just felt off. And so that didn't work. And she kept trying to do it on her own. Anyway, it was just a struggle. And it was not the first time this had happened with a client. So I just said, enough is enough. I am going to make it my mission to never let this happen again. So I delved deep into storytelling and what it takes to tell a powerful story online. I traveled across the country attending workshops. I even became one of the very first StoryBrand guides. And this is before that book, Building a StoryBrand, was even out. So it was like really early on in those days. And I just decided like, I'm going to solve this problem once and for all. And so once I really got through that process of mastering story, I, of course, started to apply this to every project I worked on. I have never not used story in a project since. And my clients were calling me with like ridiculous claims. Like I couldn't believe how quickly things were changing for them and how effective it was. And I had one client who called me and said, Kris, I'm charging 6 times more for the exact same service because I show up with more confidence. The value of what I do is coming through on the page. And so people aren't even blinking at my new rates. Another client called me and she said, my sales call close rate has gone from 25% to 95%, which means for every 10 calls she got on, she got 9.5 new clients, which
Wow.
is just also ridiculous and so wonderful. And so that was like, it happened pretty quickly, or just the proof of like, oh, the power of a story. This is really the thing that can truly move the needle for my clients and help me to confidently say, this is what you can expect. Not only that, of course, I was applying my new knowledge and wisdom to my own business. And so prior to that, I had really been relying on referrals, which referrals are great, but it's not a consistent way to build a business. It's pretty inconsistent. You never quite, it was very stressful. I never quite knew what to expect from month to month.
Mhm.
So I shifted, like my whole business shifted. And I had 2 people like travel to Portland to meet with me because they wanted to hire me and work with me in a month. And I was getting lead calls booked out. My project calendar was getting booked out. I had the biggest financial year of my life, and that was the same year that I had my baby. So it was 2 of these things were happening. I was working a lot less. I was able to charge more because I could really deliver the value for my clients. And I made the most that I'd ever made. And so it I continue to do this from all my clients as well, but I have personally gotten to, like, experience the results of it as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's really important as a business owner that you're testing these processes and these systems and you're seeing the success for yourself. And it's amazing to see how it translates to your clients because obviously all of our businesses operate a little bit differently. But it really, what a huge weight to take off of their shoulders because I am with you on the copywriting. It is one of the biggest struggles that people, I mean, even if like you say your client, she was in publishing and she's like a writer and she's struggling with this, and I think sometimes we're just too close to it. We're just too close to what we want the result to be, what we want it to say, how we want it to feel, and it's really tricky because we just get so in our own way about it.
It's
um
true. Yeah,
yeah.
it's true. I call that the bottle effect, which is essentially, as business owners, we are so close to our own business that we are truly inside of the bottle trying to read the label of it that can only be read from the outside of the bottle. And so the harder we try, it doesn't actually help because we can't get out of that bottle. We're just super close to our own business. So we really do need somebody to come in. And the way that I solve the problem for my clients, which is, um, you know, the challenge that they were having around hiring copywriters and it not feeling quite like their own voice, is really taking this collaborative approach. So I come in and I do the heavy lifting of writing for my clients, but we take the time to really collaborate together. So I pull the story out of them, which ensures that I'm hearing and understanding the way they talk and their language. And so it really feels like them. And then we work together to refine and tweak the story that I've written to really ensure that by the end of the process, it feels perfectly and beautifully aligned with who they are and what their business is all about. The other thing that I like to share with my clients is, I mean, hopefully the bottle effect will lets your listeners off the hook. Like, it's not you. Every business owner is in the bottle. And I really liken it to like a typical American garage is full of boxes, and stuff, right? It's like everything gets piled in there, and often there's not even room for the car. Depends on your tendency toward clutter, but it's really hard when you walk out into the garage to really identify what is the treasure, what's the gold here, and what is the clutter in the trash, and what do you need to donate, and what do you need to really highlight and feature. And that's what I feel like I love doing for my clients, is really like getting rid of all the clutter and really honing in on that golden thread that is the essence of your story.
Yes, that's a great metaphor because I think about that sometimes when people are sharing things with me, what their brand is and what their vision is. And so much of it is like fluff. It's just unnecessary extra adjectives. And it's just like, no, let's get to the heart of what it is you actually do and what you really want to be known for and what your business really truly provides. And honestly, I do think some of that comes with physically experiencing your business, right? When you're brand spanking new and you don't have any clients, that story that you're telling, it evolves over time. As you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 1,000 clients, your story becomes a little different because you sort of tweak things along the way. But yeah, I do think having that really good foundational piece of what's what do you say, the golden thread? I love that.
The golden
Uh,
thread.
yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing to, like, really keep in mind when you're creating your story and how your story might appear on your website is that people go through websites really quickly. Like, they barely read them, they pretty much scan them. So how do we tell your story in a way that it can actually get digested and understood when someone's on their phone and scrolling really quickly through the page? And so it's also, like, even more important to be able to communicate really clearly and concisely, and, like, think about every part of your story kind of leading as if it were a billboard on a freeway.
Yeah.
You've got a certain amount of time to really
Hmm.
get your message across. So make
Yeah.
those headlines, like, do a lot of the heavy lifting for you.
Yeah, that is really true. And I've started to shift the way I do website design, email writing, all of those things. Like, I've really started to notice that a lot of my emails that I'm writing for my clients are starting to really look like a sales page. Like, it's a story. It starts you here with like a question or a headline, and it takes you through the journey of what you're about to experience if you happened to click the link that I'm sharing with you, right? So it's
Right.
I've started to recognize that more and more, and it's becoming more muscle memory for me to create things
Mhm.
in that way.
Right.
And I think that that's definitely something that entrepreneurs struggle with. And it's almost like you don't really see it till you see it, and then you're like, okay, this is what I've been trying to achieve the whole time. Phenomenal. I'm glad I've started to, get into that. And so, yeah, I think it's phenomenal. So, can you walk us through the process of transforming a brand's essence into a story that is like just selling 24/7?
Yeah, absolutely. So the process is, there's kind of two parts to what I want to share with you. The first thing I want to say is that when you craft a signature story, it really, you can really just use one story for your entire business. And that feels like a big claim, but it's absolutely true, because your signature story works like an accordion. It can expand like an accordion, and it can condense like an accordion, and maybe in the middle would be like a video script. Maybe the longer version of it might be your website or a blog post, and the shortest version of it would be like your, what I call, a one liner or an elevator pitch, or your social media profiles. So it's the same story. It's just you've got varying lengths of it. So it's really helpful to think of the story in that way. And the beauty of it is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel once you have it. And you can, one might look at this like the lazy woman's marketing approach, but it's truly more effective, because
Yeah.
people need to hear things about 7 or 8 times before they can actually commit them to memory. And your job as an entrepreneur is to become really memorable and to be known for solving a particular problem. And so Repetition is such a gift because you don't have to work as hard, and actually your message becomes more effective. You become more trustworthy and more memorable. So that's the way a signature story works. My process of how I work with my clients, it all begins with what I call mining for gold, which is really as extracting your story out from inside of you. It's in your head, it's in your heart. My job is really to pull it out. And then I take all of those nuggets and I filter out the noise and I write your signature story for you. So that would include your website copy, your one liner, your video script, um, kind of everything that you need on your website to really get people excited about working with you and get sold. The other kind of strategic byproduct of this is you use your story on your sales calls. So you no longer have to sell. You just get on, you've got all the words there. I mean, I even pull up my own website when I'm on a sales call and the words are already there. I just kind of walk them through how I can help them. So, step two, after I've mined for gold, I write all that copy for you. And then one of the key parts of the process is the collaboration. This is how we ensure it's really honed into the nuances of your industry and really aligned with your own voice. So, we get on a 90-minute collaboration call and refine and tweak that story until it's absolutely perfect. And then what we do next is what I call deploy your story, meaning infuse your story into every area of your business. It's in your email footer, email signature, it's in your social media profiles, it's on your videos, it's literally everywhere. And that's how you really magnify your message. And then we tackle design. So once the signature story has been integrated into the website, then I come in and really look at it with designer eyes and make sure that the visual story we're telling is really in alignment with the written story that we've so carefully crafted. The design is secondary, but it's so important in bringing those words to life and really helping you feel your message and everything feel really aligned and integrated. It's just such a beautiful way to show up online. And I like to say, like a website that has a design that's really aligned with the story is like coming to like people feel like they're getting a hug when they come to your page. It's a
Yeah.
really lovely feeling. And when you're using story and you're really making your customer the hero, your clients the hero of your story, and you are the guide, you are the Yoda, they are the Luke Skywalker. Um, it's just such a unique way of experiencing a website, and it feels so good. People don't know why it feels so good, but it feels so good. It feels like, they feel connected with you and they wanna work with you. It's kinda magical.
Yeah, it honestly is. And I think that some of the best marketing is the marketing that you can't really explain why you love it so much, why you bought that thing. You were like, it just felt right. And yeah, I definitely agree. And I love you have so many fantastic metaphors. It's just so great. The accordion. I mean, that just gave me the visual of exactly what I wanted to like while I was listening to you. You just have such a way with your words. It's really, really special. And I love the accordion because I do think people get very concerned about repurposing and reusing and saying the same thing too many times. And it is honestly something that I am constantly infusing into my own business and into my content and with my clients is like whatever feels like overkill to you is probably just the right amount or maybe still not enough.
Right. Just when you're getting totally sick of it, that's when it's gonna start really working,
Yeah.
basically. But a lot of people I talk with, they feel like they don't have a story. And so they're worried about that. I don't really have a story, or my story is boring or not interesting. And I always say, like, this is not your life story. It's not even your founder's story. It's your brand story. It's very different type of story. And the story that I like to tell is really about crafting a narrative that invites your ideal clients into a story with you, a story where they are the hero of the story and you're the guide. So again, like let yourself off the hook again.
Mhm.
This is, your story is really about your ideal clients. And yes, you have a role in the story, a very important role, but you're not the hero of the story.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing to get away from, honestly, especially if you are brand new in business and you don't have that client testimonial base or experience. It is really hard to have that foresight of what my ideal client is really expecting to feel and see and get from this. And it gets easier along the way as you have more of a client roster to pull from. But yeah, it really isn't about us. And honestly, it provides so this like insane sense of freedom when you really come to terms with the fact like this is not about me.
Right.
So I take things a lot less personally, if someone doesn't buy my service. You know
Right.
what? We weren't a great fit. That's fine. When someone does buy my service, it doesn't give me that endorphin boost of like I did something amazing. It's more like I know that we're about to create something incredible together. And it really
Right.
doesn't become about me anymore.
It's really about like their problem and the problem that you get to solve for them.
Yeah.
And the fact that they trust you to solve that for them. So it's kind of
Mhm.
a different way to look at it, but it is really less emotional than it can be early on when you're feeling like personally like rejected if somebody doesn't choose to work with you.
I know, what a terrible feeling, but it happens to all of us, and it's something we sort of learn to outgrow, I suppose, as we become more self-aware and just aware of what's happening around us. Can you articulate how, like, a brand's value through the storytelling impacts that sales and overall growth?
Um, Tell me what you mean by
So, like, you've already kind of touched on this a little bit, but when you have the value of the brand embedded into that story, I mean, does it really just become this thing like people visit and sales and growth is happening because the value is obvious at that point?
absolutely. I mean, the value becomes so clear, like it is so clear what the value is that you get people that wanna work with you or wanna buy what you're selling, and so the value of the work that you do is infused into everything that we do, and it really comes down to, like, how bad do people wanna solve this problem, and how clear are you able to communicate that? How well are you able to really authentically connect with them and help them feel seen and heard and, like, really understood? And
Mhm.
then how do you paint a brighter picture of their future so you're really showing them what's possible, and how badly do they want the things that you're showing them that are possible in their life? I mean, part of our job as the guide is to paint this beautiful picture of success and to really show them what is possible for them if they decide to solve this problem and want to take action and work with you. So we want to really inspire them to take action and motivate them to do that because they really want to and they're excited about it, not because they're like feeling like they should, right?
Right.
And heroes are very motivated to avoid failure. So we also want to kind of build a nice, healthy tension without being extreme, of reminding them that we're going to help them avoid failure too. So if they do nothing, odds are their problem is not going to get solved because they would have solved it themselves if they could have by now. So that's why they need you.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. I know. I was just talking with one of my clients recently, and she was talking about how once we started working together, she had seen her revenues starting to increase. And it was really all because she could just start focusing on the parts of her business that she really loved and essentially stop ignoring all the tasks on her list that she was like, oh, those will get done later. I'll do that later. They
Right.
weren't things she wanted to do. They weren't things she loved to do, but there are things for her business that needed to get done. So it's like, unless you're willing to delegate that out, like you say, it's, if you were going to solve the problem, you would have done it already. And so it might be time to enlist some sort of help to just help you stop trying to see through the bottle to the label on the outside, right? Like,
Yeah.
hire someone to stand on the outside and say, hey, guess what? The bottle says this.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the beauty of it, the beauty of like automating your marketing in a way, like with the use of a signature story, is that you really get like the story does that heavy lifting for you. It's doing all the work that a lot of people feel like they have to do manually. And then you get freed up to really focus on just doing the work that you love.
Yeah.
Yes, you do need to market, whether it's on a podcast or email marketing, or some people do Facebook ads, like whatever. Pick your one thing that you really love to do. Do you like to do networking events? Okay, do that. Double down on that. But
Yeah.
point everyone and everything to your website, knowing that it is acting as your top sales employee 24/7, always working for you. So you don't have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And that's kind of how I've shifted my business too. I mean, I do the podcast, and that is quite literally like my one big piece of value I do every week, and everything else sort of trickles down from that podcast. And it's my way of talking about my business, what's working, what's not, talking about my clients' businesses. It's all real time kind of stuff. And I have found it's kind of my best way of telling my story. And if you look back at the history of my podcast, it's not that every single week there's a brand new insight that you've never ever heard before, right? And it's like you say, you repeat, you repurpose, you talk about things from a slightly different perspective, and you really only have to come up with the story, that really fantastic story, one time.
Yeah, yeah, you're touching on such an important point, which is people want to work with people they feel connected with. And when clients or potential clients get to spend time with you and they get a sense of your voice, your energy, your tone, your helpful heart, they feel like they know you. Like a lot of people I get on calls with feel like they've already spent time with me. They've gone to my YouTube channel, or they've listened to trainings that I've put out there. And so by the time I get on a call with them, they already feel like we're buddies, which is
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, that's what you really want your marketing to do. And that's the gift of doing a podcast, is that people are spending time with you. And the more time they spend with you, the more likely they are to be able to hire you. And what an incredibly powerful and effective way to connect when you're actually in someone's earbuds and you're in their ear, you're in their head, right? And so it's it's um it's such a impactful way to market your business.
Yeah, agree. Would you be able to share an example of how a business just revolutionized its identity and sales by employing this system that you have?
Oh gosh. I
I know
mean,
you have a lot, probably.
yeah, I have a lot of stories. Every time I work on a project, I debrief after the project with my client, and I
Mhm.
ask them questions about their experience and what kind of results that they experience. So I've got like a page on my website that's just videos of people giving feedback on what they've experienced. I mean, the big ones are like my client Mike was really on the verge of burnout, and he was going to shut down his doors. Um, and so investing and working with me was kind of a big deal for him. And he kind of bet on himself and invested in the money and started to gain more confidence and more clarity. And he came to me and he's like, I have like a swagger about me that I never had before. Like I confidently tell people what I do and they're excited about it. And so he ended up turning his business completely around.
Mhm.
Um, there's other clients that spent like hours. There's one client in particular, Emily, she would spend hours on sales calls, like every week. And she was a mother of twins. She was feeling really stretched too thin. And so we worked together and we got her website really tuned up and queuing people up. So they like had all their questions answered, and they were really reassured about that, what they were going to get and how they could work with her, that she started selling without anyone having to get on a call with her, which was like such a huge gift.
Oh, that's huge.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the ideal scenario, is like you get that purchase email in your inbox without having a sales call.
You're like,
Um,
wow, new person. Let me go engage
yeah,
and find
who
out
is
all about
this?
them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing that I hear over and over again is just a lot more free time,
Mhm.
um, or time freedom, I should say, like freedom to choose what you do with your time.
Yes.
Um, there's a lot of peace of mind knowing that you have the right words. I think as entrepreneurs, we're questioning ourselves all the time. Is it right? Isn't it right? I don't know. I think it might be right. I don't know. I'm just going to hit publish and put it out there, and maybe it's working, maybe it's not. Like there's real peace of mind of just knowing, oh, this is working and I know why it's working, and I can set it and forget it.
Mhm.
So it's the confidence that comes like with having the right words, whether it's just peace of mind about the website working for you, or confidence when you get on that sales call that you know what to say. And then of course, like the big one is just you get to make a lot more money because the value is there. And so sometimes it takes a little while for clients to like catch up to the fact that they can now charge more, but eventually they get there, or they get too busy and then their rates go up. But that's the best part, is just when people start booking out their calendars and getting new clients and selling their courses. And I had one client named Neil Williams. She made 93 $1,000 in how, I'm trying to remember if it was, she made, I think it was $93,000 in like 90 days or something like that. It's on my website now. I can't remember the exact number, but she, yeah, she just tuned up her website. Like we just worked together to get the messaging dialed in, and we cleared out all the clutter, and it started to really work for her. So big
Yeah.
changes happen. It's really rewarding for me.
I love that. And you're so right when you say the confidence that comes with knowing the right words to say. Like with clarity comes confidence. Like it's just one of those facts of life, those universal laws. Like if you're really feeling a lack of confidence in what it is you do, whenever someone comes up to you and says, "Oh, so great to meet you. What do you do?" And your stomach sinks and your brain goes blank. Like if you're having that sensation when someone asks you what you do, then you need to get on Kris's website and you need to like just start to really infuse this whole episode into your next meditation practice or something. Like start thinking about these things, because with clarity comes that confidence. And the moment you have that string of words that goes together and you have not all the fluff. It's like all the things that really matter and really say who you are and what you do. Yeah, it just
Yeah.
rolls off the tongue like
Yeah.
immediately. The shift will happen immediately when
It
you
really
talk.
does. Oh, literally overnight. Like
Yeah,
people dread that question, what do you do? You know,
yeah,
it's so annoying when you hear that and you're like, "Ugh," and you're like cringing, and two things happen. Number one, you go on and on about what you do, and like their eyes glaze over and you're like, "Oh gosh, I lost them." You know? Or you have a two-word answer like, "I'm a financial advisor," or whatever.
yeah.
And then they're like, "And, anyway, how's the weather?" You know, it's like so it either falls flat or it glazes over. Either way, you're uncomfortable and it doesn't feel good. And I really feel like that question, what do you do, should lead to a really engaging, fruitful conversation. Even if they're not your ideal client, like it can still lead to like a really enjoyable, meaningful exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a relief when I tell my clients, once you have those words, print them out, put them next to your computer and memorize it. People that know how to answer the question, what do you do? They've memorized it. They've done the work. They've gotten clear. They've memorized it intentionally. And then forevermore, they know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
And this is such a passion of mine. Like, it doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to even meditate on it. Like, I have a 5-minute video you can watch. It's free. It's on my website. It's called How to Write Compelling Copy in 5 Minutes Flat. And it will literally in 5 minutes walk you through how to get clear on the 3 most important components of your story so you can answer that question, what do you do, with total confidence and enjoyment. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I will add that to the show notes, you guys. I'll go find the video. I'll add it to the show notes so that way you can easily link it because, yeah, I mean, that really is everything that I am doing in my business. And I can see that Kris is doing in hers. It's really about making life as seamless as possible, right? There's going to be potholes, there's going to be struggles and things that you have to work through along the way. But if you know where to find the tool to help you get through it, then it really isn't an issue. It's really just another learning opportunity, and you just keep moving on and you add a little notch to your belt and be like, well, now I know how to do this. Awesome. Let's
Well,
keep
yeah, and
chugging
you
along.
you you do it one time and you reap the benefits forever because your story doesn't really change. I mean, yes, your business evolves and over the course of years you might fine tune it or tweak it, but fundamentally your story is going to really be consistent.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can say from experience, this is probably one of the most anxiety ridden aspects of figuring out my business. When I first started with entrepreneurship, I mean, I was brand new to it. Only had done corporate America my whole adult life. And so being asked that question to do those sort of um, journal prompts, those exercises. What is it that you do? What's your elevator pitch? All these things. I mean, I would spend months trying to figure this out. And
Right.
so meeting somebody like you, I mean, come on, this is really gonna like hyper speed the process. And it's not necessarily about you have to go fast, but it's like, why not just work a little smarter? Do it with a
Yeah.
little more intention and just weed out the clutter.
Well, when you have the right guidance and a clear process, it shouldn't take very long. It shouldn't feel hard. It actually should be really enlightening and really fun. And then you get to move on. Like,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
But
awesome.
otherwise, you can spin and spin and spin. And, there's so many rabbit holes that you can go down. But the
Mhm.
fundamentals of story haven't changed in thousands of years. They're timeless.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, on that note, what are some steps that people listening to this can take with them and go do today, this weekend, and start crafting a really powerful story for themselves?
Well, the most important thing that you can do for your story is really be able to articulate your client's problem in their words. When you get on the phone with them, what are they complaining to you about in their words? And so part of the process of the freebie that if you decide to download or watch is really articulating that problem and just brain dumping it, get it out of your head and onto paper.
Mhm.
And again, like always come back to the words that they use. We want to meet them where they are. We want them to help them feel seen and heard. Every story always begins with a hero that has a problem. So we always want to begin our story with the hero that has a problem, and your clients are the hero. So that's what I want you to get out of your head and onto paper. And then step 2 would really be articulating how you solve that problem. So positioning your service as the solution to that problem.
Mhm.
That's going to be really important as well, but it doesn't have to be wordy or lengthy. It can be 5 to 8 words. And then the last part of the story is really painting that picture of success. So what's their life going to be like after they've solved this problem? Not These are not features of working with you or benefits of working with you. This is like really, how's their life going to be better once this
Yeah.
problem is solved? So that's kind of the shortest version of the story, is what I call the one-liner, that accordion in its most condensed form. But
Hmm.
those fundamentals are the same once you widen that accordion out, and those core foundational elements of story are going to inform your longer story as well.
I love it. You're so great with words. No wonder you're successful with what you do. I will put everything in the show notes for you guys at reddoordesigns.com if you're just itching to get there and look at everything that Kris has going on. Um, Anything that you'd like to close us out with today? This has been a really fantastic conversation. I think this is something that all the entrepreneurs I know in my realm are really going to enjoy hearing.
Yeah. No, I feel like we've covered so much territory in a relatively short period of time. I would just say, like, the the biggest takeaway I'd love everyone to really digest is that you are the guide in the story and your clients are the hero. And when you look at everything through that lens, you're going to start to stand out in your industry. Oh, the other thing I wanted to share for the newbies, or if you're new to your industry and you're like, well, I haven't been on a bunch of client calls, so I don't know what their problems are in their words. Find a book Go to Amazon and find a book that solves the problem that you also solve, and then look at the reviews of that book and see what people are talking about around what they were struggling with before they read the book and what the book solved for them. So that
That's
can
smart.
be a little like hack. Of course, you've got ChatGPT as a resource, which can be really helpful, like, as to keep you from staring at a blank screen. That being said, the ChatGPT cannot replace you getting clear on your own story. Like, AI really relies on you to feed it really valuable, clear information. So you have to do the heavy lifting of creating your story and the foundational elements of it first. Once you do that, then you can use an AI tool to really um, help you expand that story.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, AI, I see it as more of like a thesaurus. If I don't have the right way I want to say something, but it's never to help me figure out what to say.
Exactly.
And I do
Exactly.
think that's a distinction that has gotten away from us in this current
Yeah.
era that we're
Oh,
in. So,
I come across so many websites that I'm like, "Oh, classic AI. Embark on a journey with me," and
yeah, all the
so,
things, all the extra
yeah.
fluff, right? I think that is
Oh my
something
god.
that AI has not quite learned yet is to get rid of some of the fluff because some of the words, the adjectives and things that
Yeah.
AI uses, I'm like, who speaks like this? Nobody.
Well,
This is ridiculous.
it relies on fluff because we're not feeding it tangible, clear, foundational
Hmm.
elements of story, and so it's like, just it's winging it.
Yeah.
Um, and it doesn't feel good to the reader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this was a fantastic episode. Anybody who's struggling with copywriting feels like their website isn't doing what it should be doing, right? Selling and helping people get to know you and your business. This is an episode you're going to want to tune into. Head to the show notes so you can snag that 5-minute video on Kris's site and get connected with her. Ask her questions, all the things. I'm sure she'd love to connect.
Is your website turning away potential clients? I can help you turn that around. Book a money-making messaging call with me today, and we'll transform your story into your most powerful sales tool. That's all for this episode of From Click to Client. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. I'm Kris Jones, and I'll see you next time.